Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here. It's time yet again for another Generation 1 Transformers review. And as once again we commemorate the events of 9/11 and thank our first responders everywhere, I thought this week I would find a Transformer group that helped embody the spirit of our first responders. The closest we got was the 1989 Micromaster unit, the Rescue Patrol. The Rescue Patrol was released in 1989 as part of the first wave of Micromasters. They were released in the latter part of 1989 as part of the second wave of Micromasters. They would only be available for that year, and they would be discontinued in 1990. And while we would not get a replacement for them, the Metro Squad that was released the following year in 1990 does sort of hearken to them, only in the fact that two of their team do combine to form something of a rather large fire truck. The Rescue Patrol here, as you can see, consists of 4 members. We have, from the left, we have Fixit, Red Hot, Sea-Watch, and Stakeout. We're going to review each figure individually, discuss who they are, what they're capable of, and see what all the toys can do. Alright, we will start here with Fixit. Not just because it's in alphabetical order, but Fixit, according to the lore such as the More Than Meets the Eye guidebooks, is the leader of the patrol. He's not the original leader of the patrol, as one would think, if he'd quit moving off of the camera here. The original leader of the patrol was his fellow teammate Stakeout, but we'll get to him as to why he's no longer leader later on. But Autobot High Command, when the patrol came up for review, decided that there was a better member for leader, and it became Fixit. As Fixit is one that never accepts defeat, no matter the situation. He's not really much for combat, but he has learned how to specialize in combat surgery and other medical procedures that can be performed in the battlefield. Now let's take a look at his articulation, and unfortunately as a Micromaster he is kind of limited. The arms do rotate at the shoulders. He can raise his arms up about so far, and then they go straight down and flat against his back. He does have a joint at the hip, so you can bend him at the hip and kind of give him a sit-down look. And there is a small bit of a joint at the knees, but it makes him bend backward. It's more for transforming him than anything else. As you can also see, the right arm the arms do tend to work a little bit loose. So if that's something that bothers you, you might want to keep an eye out for that. To transform Fixit, it's pretty simple. You fold the arms all the way down so that they're vertical. Then you're going to bend him at the knees and the hips to get his legs to flush up against the rest of the body. And you have his alternate mode, an ambulance. Kind of obvious, wasn't it, folks? Now, none of the lore really states what kind of model of ambulance. He slightly harkens to the Nissan Vanette that Ratchet and Ironhide were able to transform into, but not quite exactly. It does have nice little tiny wheels here. Does roll pretty good across the table here. Yep, not too bad. Our next member of the team is Red Hot. Red Hot is the team's action junkie. He loves the adrenaline rush from being in anything, whether going out and rescuing people or getting into a battle with Decepticons. He's always got to be at the height of excitement, which sometimes leads to trouble with him, as he is tended to get distracted by his action junkie needs, that he can sometimes forget any mission that he's specifically tasked with. But all in all, he's not a bad character at all. So if nothing else, it does make him at least valuable on the team. He's not going to constantly be seeking it out to the point he's going to abandon them, but they do still have to keep an eye on him. Now, as for articulation, he's a little bit better, in the sense that you can rotate his arm all the way around, so you got full range of motion on the shoulder. Does have a joint at the hip, does ratchet a bit a couple of places, so you can make him sit down. And he does have one at the knees, so you can really have him sitting. Fold his hip back down. There we go, you can see that was real stiff. Alright, to transform Red Hot, simply line up his arms straight down like this. And then you will fold the lower half of his legs back and over, and then move the little ladder up and over, and there you have a fire truck. Again, we're not exactly certain what model of fire truck he is. So he does not resemble the Mitsubishi Fuso that Inferno became. Sort of harkens it a little, but not a lot. Probably only as a slight homage. The nice thing is that the ladder on the truck does elevate, does go almost straight up, so that's not too bad. And it does rotate 360 degrees. So you got a nearly 360 rotation and probably an 88 degree angle upward. So you've got quite a range of motion on this MicroMaster fire truck here. So that's real nice. That's real nice. Now, if you had some Micro Machine buildings, you could definitely reach the high rises. The only real disappointment on this is that while he does have 6 wheels, the middle set of wheels are fake, so they do not rotate. The back ones do tend to get stiff a little bit easier than the others, so let's see how well he rolls. Kind of poor. Give him another tap. Doesn't really go very far, and those fake wheels are dragging him down. That's a shame, but otherwise, nice little fire truck. Our third member of the group is Sea-Watch. Sea-Watch is the environmentalist of the group. He joined up with the Autobots due to seeing how badly the Decepticons were treating the environment on Cybertron. And when he got here to Earth, he's even more disgusted by how we humans treat our planet. There's no satisfying Sea-Watch. And while he does love his job and he does enjoy rescuing people, it's just once you do get rescued, you are going to get a tirade of all the problems that are going on in the galaxy and how he believes they can be fixed. But of course, if he does come out and rescue you and tows you back to land, he may just as well abandon you if he happens to see somebody throwing trash into the ocean alongside you. So there's no telling whether or not this guy's really going to help you that much, folks. But all in all, he is an interesting character, and his alternate mode is certainly something different. It's just you got to figure out how does it fit in with the whole patrol itself. Taking a look at his articulation, his arm can be raised up about so far due to the front piece of his alternate mode. And due to the way his back is designed, the arms can't go back any further, so his articulation is about like Fixit's. Because he can also bend at the hip to sit down, and he can bend at the knees. So he's kind of like a cross between the previous two guys there. Alright, to transform Sea-Watch, you start by bringing his arms all the way down, and then you will take this cap here that's on his back and fold it up on top of his head, and then you will fold his legs over, and you have his alternate mode, a hydrofoil. Now, I'm not really aware if the Coast Guard uses hydrofoils. I'm guessing that there's probably some coastal units that do use a hydrofoil, but I'm not really sure due to the fact that hydrofoils are more known for their speed than anything, but it is potentially possible. Now, for those of you who would probably like to see some hydrofoil action, one of the best examples that I can point out comes from the classic James Bond movie Thunderball, where it shows near the end that the front section of the Disco Volante boat is capable of being a hydrofoil. But our fellow G.I. Joe collectors can also point out one to us in the fact that in 1985, the Cobra forces gained the Moray, which is a hydrofoil. Hydrofoil allows it to lower these protrusions from the bottom of the boat into the water, which raises the boat up above the waterline and gives it some incredible speed. So they'd be more useful in open water, such as the oceans. But that should give you folks some idea as to what a hydrofoil looks like. Now, it doesn't stop Sea-Watch here, as he does have here on the back a very large wheel, so you can pretend to drive him over watery surfaces. Doesn't do too bad freewheeling, though. He's pretty lightweight, so he does freewheel pretty well. That's surprisingly nice. And lastly, we come up upon Stakeout. Now, as I stated earlier, Stakeout was the original leader of the patrol. However, Stakeout does have a tendency of ignoring or outright breaking various regulations that is supposed to keep him in check. So it often got them into trouble with Autobot Command, among other places. for some of their questionable tactics. And he accepted the offer to step down as leader and was replaced by Fixit. He does serve well with Fixit, trying to give him the same dogged determination to succeed. He just has to quit relying on his instincts overriding his common sense. And that should hopefully keep him out of trouble. Now, taking a look at his articulation, he can raise his arm only so far due to the way the overhang of the front of his alternate mode hangs over. Otherwise, he can bring his arm back down about so far. And he can bend at the hip about 90 degrees, and he can also bend at the knees, so he can sit down pretty good. Not that he'd have much of a reason to sit down. Now, to transform Stakeout, you just fold both arms down to the side as far as they'll go. You'll raise up the hood of his car mode and place it over the top of his head. And then fold his legs back and slide them in. Now, sometimes they may push the arm out, so you gotta be careful. Just pop it back into place there. And you have his alternate mode, a police car. Now, specifically, well, you can't tell it here from looking at the front of the car, he is intended to be a Ford Taurus police car. Which is interesting enough that when you take a look at the artwork of his alternate mode in the More Than Meets the Eye guidebook, you look down here at the front of the car, you can just barely make out a blue oval. The symbol, of course, of the Ford Motor Company. Now, there's something even more interesting about his choice of alternate mode in the fact that the Ford Taurus police car was commonly seen, especially also in this particular color, in the 1980s feature film RoboCop. See, here's a model of the car used in RoboCop, and here is Stakeout. As you can see, apart from some cosmetic differences, the color does almost match. Which is no surprise, really, due to the fact that the original RoboCop movie from the 1980s was a smash hit in Japan, where the toys originated from. I know of several references in various anime that even proved the fact that RoboCop was a popular feature. There have been numerous cyborg-like creations that have been done in anime. Some can even harken back to even being inspired by RoboCop. The original direct-to-video release of the AD Police, the third episode in it, The Man Who Bites His Tongue, is a darker take on the RoboCop mythos, where they create their own cyborg police officer, and they sort of explore more the psychological aspects, something that the remake that was done a few years back tried somewhat to do, but didn't do as good as what the AD Police episode did. And probably for a little more fun for some of you anime fans, there is a reference to RoboCop in the original Sailor Moon anime. The second episode where they have Sailor Mercury, where she shows off her computer, if you watch real carefully on the screens as she's using it, you will briefly see RoboCop's prime directives appear on the screen. Doesn't matter if you're looking at the Japanese version or even the very poorly done English dub version from 1992. It is in there. It's a blink and a miss moment. As for rolling around here, his body's kind of a little low to the ground. You can see these small protrusions here on his chest, and those, sorry about that folks, kind of limit how he rolls on this table. See, just giving him a decent tap, and he really doesn't want to roll. There we go. Got to give him a real good one to get him going there. Now, it should go without saying that it's obvious these guys don't have any loose pieces, but I'll say it anyway. There are no loose pieces with this patrol. Now that we got that out of the way, we shall move on, taking a look at his at their card backer. As you can see, it's got some decent illustrations of the four guys. Get back here. Starting to hate this tripod, folks. I think it's time to invest in a new one. Now, each one of them was individually lined up underneath their respective character here in vehicle mode. We turn it around here to the back side. And they got the same little speech here about how they were commissioned by the Power Masters. Then over here, there's basically a short listing of the other ones that were available at that same time. So like I said, these guys were part of the second wave. And this was how they were released. They did 2 Autobot teams and 1 Decepticon team. And then you have the individual instructions. And just above it, each guy has his own personal motto. And then, of course, down here underneath the last one, you have the barcode and the robot point. They were worth 1 point. And then we'll move over here to their tech spec. As you can see, it's got a picture of all 4 of them. It's the exact same lineup as how they were on the front of the carton. It's done up in red above them to indicate they are Autobots. It gives the unit name as the Rescue Patrol, and their function is search and rescue. The team's motto is, true victory can only lie in the ability to locate and mend the injured. This fearless foursome braves the heaviest combat fire on land and sea to perform their assigned tasks. Fully equipped to administer emergency aid under the most adverse conditions. Sea-Watch has over-the-horizon radar and towing capability. Stakeout has a state-of-the-art communications dashboard. Fixit is outfitted with repair bay and life function monitors. Red Hot contains fire-retardant chemical foam. That seems kind of redundant, folks. You would think a fire truck would have that. Now we take a look here at their stats, and the stats for a Micromaster unit are slightly different than what it is for a regular Transformer, since they root out firepower and rank for them and replace them instead with teamwork and cooperation. Teamwork and cooperation are 9 for this unit. Their combined strength is 5, their endurance is 6, their speed is 4, their intelligence is 8, their courage is 9, and their skill is 8. So, while they may be lacking a bit in the strength and speed categories, these guys more than make up for it in everything else. Now we get down to my thoughts. What do I think of the Rescue Patrol? This is a unit that's got a group of colorful characters with it. While you would think that some of their personalities really wouldn't mesh well together, somehow the unit does seem to come together when the job demands it. and they certainly prove it. They are, without a doubt, one of the better Autobot Micromaster units. It's hard to instinctively give a Micromaster unit a position in the top tier, since a lot of people really aren't that big of fans of the Micromasters. They were a cheap way of trying to cash in on the success of the Micro Machine toy line, and it more or less gave Hasbro an excuse to put these guys out instead of the cheap little Transformer toys. But in the long run, I think this group does deserve a spot in the top tier of must-have Transformers from the Generation 1 line. They perfectly epitomize the Autobot belief of protecting the innocent and being able to rescue those that are in danger. While they may not be the best at frontline fighting, they're the guys that help in the support functions more than the actual frontline battles. And you need good back-end support if you're going to continue a fight in the long run. So, I definitely say, folks, that this is a top-tier toy. And that concludes my review of the 1989 Generation 1 Autobot Search and Rescue Unit, the Rescue Patrol. If you like this review, please thumbs up it here on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button down below if you haven't done so already. And please do like this video and share your thoughts down below in the comments section. I'd love to hear your opinion of the Rescue Patrol. This is Sparkster saying 1701 saying, sounds like we have company, so I'm going to catch you all later. You will like and post positive thoughts on this video.